Hello, all you freedom-loving people. The Crossfire Hurricane files will be declassed. The Trump administration will require proof of citizenship in federal elections, and Gazans marched in a rare anti-Hamas protest. Okay, let's get into it. On Tuesday, President Trump signed an executive order requiring people to provide proof of American citizenship when they register to vote. It's simply a matter of course that only citizens can vote, but now it has become one of the most controversial issues. The order states, free, fair, and honest elections unmarred by fraud, error, and suspicion are fundamental to maintaining our constitutional republic, yet the U.S. has failed to enforce basic and necessary election protections. Election experts immediately criticized the move, saying it would disenfranchise millions of voters. The Brennan Center for Justice at the New York University wrote on X, "Presidents have no authority to do this. This order, like the SAVE Act now before Congress, would hurt voters and suppress the vote." President Trump signed another executive order on Tuesday directing the FBI to immediately declassify documents related to the Crossfire Hurricane investigation.
Next, sir, we have a presidential memorandum for your attention. This memorandum requires the immediate declassification of all FBI files relating to the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. This was obviously one of the instances of the weaponization of law enforcement powers of prosecution against you and others. We believe that it's long past time for the American people to have a full and complete understanding of what exactly is in those files.
Which gives the media the right to go in and check it. You probably won't bother because you're not going to like what you see. But this was total weaponization. It's a disgrace. Should never happen in this country. But now you'll be able to see for yourselves, all declassified.
Pursuant to the executive order, this declassification order covers all relevant materials listed in the January 19, 2021 presidential memorandum, excluding the portions that the FBI proposed to redact on January 17, 2021, as well as specific content that is required to be kept secret by law. The Crossfire Hurricane investigation was initiated by the FBI in 2016 to investigate whether the Trump campaign had conspired with Russia during the 2016 U.S. presidential election. The case later led to the appointment of special counsel Robert Mueller. According to the report from the Mueller team in 2019, no evidence of any criminal conspiracy or coordination between President Trump or his campaign and Russia has been found after years of negative news stories in the legacy media. The documents covered by this declassification are seen by some as an important basis for clarifying the origins of the 2016 investigation. According to the final investigative report that was filed in 2023 by Special Counsel John Durham, the FBI did not have any concrete evidence when it initiated the Crossfire Hurricane operation in the first place. It's unclear what new information will be revealed in the forthcoming documents, but Attorney General Pam Bondi recently said that the fraud uncovered by DOJ will be investigated, and the reopening of Crossfire Hurricane will at least provide Congress and the public with more details on the decision-making process of the FBI, the Justice Department, and the intelligence agencies in 2016 and the years that followed. Usha Vance, the Second Lady of the United States, said on Sunday that she will leave for Greenland on Thursday and she will return on Saturday. Her office said that the purpose of the trip is to take one of their children to visit historic sites and to learn about Greenlandic culture. But the timing is quite sensitive, so it attracted a lot of media attention. Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen on Tuesday accused the U.S. of putting unacceptable pressure on Greenland. Mette Gede, the Prime Minister of Greenland self-government, also called the U.S. posture toward Greenland very aggressive. Mark Jacobson, a professor at the Royal Danish Defence College, said what is controversial here is all about the timing. He said, Greenland and Denmark have stated very clearly that they don't want the U.S. to visit right now when Greenland doesn't have a government in place. Following the election earlier this month, coalition negotiations are still ongoing. Vice President J.D. Vance may have felt it was time for a little more attention, and he announced that he was planning to join the trip as well because he didn't want her to have all this fun by herself. JD said that the purpose of his trip was to just check out what's going on with the security there on Greenland. JD also said that the leaders in Denmark and North America had ignored Greenland for far too long. However, the vice president and his wife changed their itinerary in order to help cool things off. The second lady had been set to watch Greenland's national dog sled race and to visit several parts of the island, but the Vances are now only set to travel to the Pituffik Space Base, which is a U.S. military facility on the island's western fringe, on Friday. On Wednesday, Danish Foreign Minister Lars Løkke Rasmussen welcomed the change of plans from the U.S. Rasmussen told Danish public radio DR, "I actually think it's very positive that the Americans are canceling their visit to Greenlandic society. Instead, they will visit their own base, Pituffik, and we have nothing against that." The official website of the New York University, NYU, was compromised by a hacker last week, leaking the names, test scores, majors, and other data of more than 3 million NYU applicants, exposing a big secret about the prestigious school. After compromising NYU's official website, the hacker published 3 data charts on the web page, which showed that the university still categorized the students according to their race, which I personally find offensive. The leaked data showed the average SAT scores, ACT scores, and the GPAs of students admitted to NYU in 2024, and they were broken down according to race. A current NYU undergraduate student who wished to remain anonymous argued that she wasn't too shocked by the numbers because it's always been this way. Grace Chu, the co-founder of the education advocacy group Place NYC, argued that NYU still has such biased admission data even after the Supreme Court overturned affirmative action admission in 2023, wherein the Supreme Court ruled that universities are constitutionally prohibited from considering applicants' race in the admission process. The ruling applies to all public and private universities in the United States. This suggests that the NYU is probably not following the law, and the DOJ should investigate. The Chief Justice wrote that college admission decisions must be based on the applicant's personal experiences and qualifications, not their skin color. In fact, this is also the view of African Americans also. They should not receive special treatment just because of the color of their skin. The education system in the United States is indeed very problematic. Many parents of conservative families find that their children graduate from public schools and become radical leftists, which is the exact opposite of what the parents believe. One of the key reasons behind this is precisely the long-term influence of the Department of Education as an agency that held the power to fund education and set policies. The DOE not only managed curricula and standards, but it also assumed a large number of ideological-oriented functions. It had even been criticized as being a propaganda machine for left-wing agendas. Many parents were dismayed to find that their children were no longer discussing Shakespeare, George Washington, or Thomas Edison in the classroom, but rather they were discussing systemic oppression, white privilege, or transgender identity. This so-called progressive education had gradually shifted the nature of education from imparting knowledge to imparting ideological indoctrination, triggering a huge backlash from conservatives. The Department of Education had indirectly supported the participation of transgender students in athletic events or the use of restrooms consistent with their identity by expanding Title IX of the Education Law Amendments to include gender identity in the anti-discrimination context. While these policies were seen by liberals as symbols of progress and inclusion, they were seen by conservatives and religious groups as blatant challenges to the right of families to education, religious beliefs, and biological common sense. In the U.S. constitutional system, education was originally a state and family-driven affair. However, with the expansion of the Department of Education's authority, parental decision-making in their children's education had steadily eroded. In some school districts, parents didn't even have the right to know if their children were receiving gender reassignment counseling at school or if they were being forced to participate in racial re-education camps. Many conservative parents were outraged to find themselves not only culturally marginalized, but also legally voiceless. For this reason, the Trump administration saw the dismantling of the Department of Education as a critical step in removing the soil of politicized education and in defending the diversity of values and freedom of thought on campus. The conservative coalition represented by President Trump knows that it is necessary to restore family control over education through educational choice policies. They advocate allowing parents to use public funds to choose religious schools, private schools, or homeschooling to create a competitive mechanism in the education market and to fundamentally break down the bureaucratic system that was dominated by the Department of Education. On March 20th, President Trump issued an executive order ending the Department of Education, which was a bloated federal system that burdened schools with red tape.
Should I do this? I think so. We have pens, we need to do special pens. I was very lucky. I signed another document that turned out to be very good for the country, and I said, let's use that same pen. I don't know, is anybody superstitious? Ron, are you superstitious? Let's use that same pen.
Although the Department of Education had only about 4,000 employees, it controlled an annual budget of nearly $270 billion and a federal student loan debt portfolio of more than $1.6 trillion. It was essentially one of the largest lenders in the United States. But President Trump's executive order is troubling liberal education advocates. The American Teachers Union and rights advocacy organizations, including the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, filed a lawsuit on Monday in Maryland District Court against the Trump administration. The new lawsuit alleges that President Trump exceeded his constitutional authority in dismantling the department as well as violating the Administrative Procedures Act. The lawsuit says the Constitution gives power over the establishment of offices and the determination of their functions and jurisdiction to Congress, not to the president or any officer working under him. The American Federation of Teachers, along with other public school districts and organizations, also filed a second lawsuit against the government on Monday, asking the judge to stop the order and to declare the actions illegal. Protests against Hamas broke out in at least 3 locations in the Gaza Strip on Tuesday. They demanded an end to the war and condemned the rule of Hamas. This is the largest anti-Hamas demonstration in Gaza since the outbreak of the Israeli-Hamas war on October 7, 2023, and this marks the first year and a half since the war began when popular discontent and pressure have come to the forefront. According to videos and photos circulating on social media, the protest was centered in the town of Beitin Lurian in northern Gaza. Demonstrators, mostly men, chanted slogans such as Hamas is out of power, Hamas is a terrorist, and the people want to overthrow Hamas. Some of them held up signs saying, "Stop the war, yes to peace, no to Hamas," and the Palestinian children want to live. Some people also gathered outside the Indonesian hospital in Beitin Luria, some waving white flags to express their demand for peace. There are reports that a message calling for people to join the protest was circulated in advance on social media platforms such as Telegram, suggesting that the protest may be self-organized by the people. No specific political party or organization has been identified as the leader. Hours after the first protest, another anti-war and anti-Hamas demonstration broke out in the Jabalia refugee camp in northern Gaza, with dozens of people burning tires and shouting, "We need food." Officially, Hamas did not comment on the protests. However, some media outlets in Gaza, including those affiliated with the terrorist organization, published photos and videos of the event under the headline, "Demonstration to Stop the War." But they made no mention of the calls for Hamas to step down. The Israeli government has repeatedly called on the people of Gaza to oppose Hamas, but under Hamas's iron fist, such opposition has been rare. So this protest, though very limited in scale, could be a sign of political change in Gaza. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember that every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you have already subscribed, we thank you, but please double check to make sure that you're still subscribed, because some of our audience have reported that they're somehow unsubscribed without their knowledge. We've also heard from some of you that you don't get notifications of our videos anymore on YouTube. So when you do subscribe on YouTube, please make sure to tap the notification bell as well. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth.